Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer, a real quick intro for Karl's testimony. I put together Karl's testimony in court so you can decide, what your, view of Karl is before and after the trial. Right? Everybody makes summaries of what was said, but I want you guys to read the words that he actually said in court. To me, it was a huge contrast. To me, it was a big letdown. If you're on the internet, if you're on YouTube, right, and you're just pumping your chest, making direct accusations at somebody, it doesn't matter who it is, right? But when you show up to court, you want to show up with the same energy that you were talking smack on YouTube, like Charlie did, right? Penguin Zero, he came in there with the same energy, doing the same crap, saying the same things that he does on video, right? He comes in on his videos with a heart of a lion. He goes into court with the heart of a lion. On the other hand, you have Karl Jobst, talking on video with the heart of a lion, and shows up to court with the heart of a mouse. It was very disappointing. It really was. When you read this, it doesn't sound like a man that's confident on YouTube saying absolute legends. I don't know any other way to read this. Now, I am a human being just like everybody else. I think at this point, when Karl's sitting in that jury, I think he realized, what the heck are we doing here? Right? I think this is the moment that he realized all that's happening here is $1 million are going to be traded by these lawyers, and nobody's opinion is going to change. I don't think anybody that's a Karl Jobst fan is going to feel any better after this trial than they would afterwards. And whatever that value is, it's not worth all the pain and suffering that he's gone through the last, whatever this last 2 years, whatever it is, all the, pain and heartache, wasted time, mental, all the things that he's going to say here, and that he said in the past that this trial cost him. I think at this moment, he realized that this is not worth it. I think any rational human being would think that. And this is just the impression that I get. Of course, this is just my opinion, guys. You guys can make up your own opinion when you hear his testimony, right? So without further ado, let's dig into it.
Hello, you absolute legends. And with that, KB declared his first witness. The defendant calls Mr. Karl Jobst. The clerk came up and went through the whole affirmation spiel, asking Karl if he does affirm to speak the truth and blah blah blah. I do. Karl gave his name as Karl David Jobst. He's been a professional YouTuber for almost 6 years, since December 2018. He covers a few different gaming-related topics, including what he calls speedrunning, which he admits may not be a meaningful term to people at the court. Karl gives a brief explanation of what video game speedrunning is before adding that he also spends a large amount of time covering cheating in games. Karl is asked if he's held any gaming records, to which he says he's held hundreds of records, and has been world champion many times in a game called Perfect Dark. Karl also has a YouTube channel, whose name is literally just his name, Karl Jobst. Karl says he doesn't focus on any one particular game, and is always looking for world records in a wide variety of games, adding that his channel has over 1 million followers. Judge stepped in to ask, what exactly is a follower? Karl explained that it's anyone who clicked a subscribe button on any of his videos. Judge understood, observing that it's basically the same as subscribers. KB asked, when Karl publishes a new video, how is anyone notified? Karl says it depends, saying that people can click a button to receive notifications, but noting that it is otherwise at the whim of YouTube. KB remarked, if I'm subscribed. Apologies, I'm not. Maybe I should be, before asking if YouTube works like Facebook, where the latest videos appear first. Karl said YouTube works differently, where videos come up in recommendations, which are tailored to each individual. Karl confirmed he's published multiple videos in reference to plaintiff, as well as videos covering other cheaters. When asked for other examples, Karl noted a cheating scandal with Dream, and a Guitar Hero cheater. Karl reiterated that he's a professional YouTuber. When asked how he gets paid from publishing YouTube videos, Karl noted 2 sources. First, YouTube pauses videos to display ads, sharing some portion of that revenue with the uploader. The second way was to work with sponsors to have an advertising message inserted into the video itself. KB asked to reiterate that these are the only 2 ways Karl financially benefits from the videos themselves. Karl confirmed this was correct. KB asked if Karl had any other job or source of income. Karl said no. Karl first heard about Billy Mitchell around 2009, from the movie King of Kong. Karl was asked of his first impression, to which he said, "It wasn't a good one, to be honest." Karl said the way Billy comes across in the movie is not good. Karl noted, the movie did make him interested in following the Donkey Kong world record. By the time Karl had seen King of Kong, other DK players had surpassed Billy's claimed scores. Karl recalls he may have seen news of one of Billy's claimed world records around that time, but he was not following Billy per se. KB asked how Karl heard about the score dispute with Twin Galaxies. Karl recalls first hearing about it at the end of 2017, though he does not remember specifically how. Karl recalls, in competitive gaming circles, the story was everywhere, adding that all eyes were on classic gamers after an issue with claims by Todd Rogers on games like Dragster. KB backed up his client, adding that the news was everywhere in his world. Jobst noted that, while the Donkey Kong dispute is often said to have begun in February 2018, it actually started much earlier, in late 2017. It began with evidence of a board swap video that had been staged, causing the community to begin questioning Billy's score associated with that video. Karl added that, although this earlier evidence wasn't concrete, it was talked about for months. KB asked Karl if he followed that dispute closely, to which Karl said, very closely. He continued reading the dispute thread on the TG website, which included thousands of comments. When asked by KB what this thread consisted of, Karl said it included tons and tons of evidence demonstrating Billy's scores were fake. Specifically, Karl explained, the scores were done using MAME, spelled M-A-M-E, although Karl could not remember the acronym in the moment. It's Multiple Arcade Machine Emulator. Karl explained that, over the years, hobbyists managed to extract the actual game code out of these arcade machines, allowing people to play these games on home computers. However, computers work differently, resulting in specific signatures which are different than on original arcade. Karl noted that, if one paused on certain screen transitions, these differences become apparent. KB asked, did you yourself go through that analysis? Karl answered, yes. At this point, the judge asked a very savvy question. He asked if, using this method, it would be possible to play a game like Donkey Kong more quickly. Karl said the concern here wasn't so much how the game plays, but rather what extra tools open the possibility of cheating, which are not available on original arcade. Karl notes that MAME score submissions are subjected to higher proof requirements, which Billy's scores did not satisfy. BB lodged an objection if this evidence was to be taken as expert testimony, but not if it's strictly taken in terms of Karl's opinion. Judge noted that he's not concerned with whether plaintiff cheated, just whether he had a reputation for cheating. Judge sought more background from Karl, specifically how one would claim a record for highest score or quickest to beat a level. Do you have to play a game, and then upload a recording of it to someone who credits you with this record? Karl answered that is correct. KB asked what technology can be involved in applying to have a world record recognized, to which the judge in another savvy move remarked that different companies likely rely on different procedures. KB asked Karl who recognizes world records on Donkey Kong. After asking for clarification on what is meant by recognizes, Karl lists Donkey Kong Forum and Twin Galaxies. When asked what documentation is required for score recognition on Twin Galaxies, Karl noted that it depends on the game and the platform played on, adding that for Donkey Kong scores, arcade and MAME are treated as separate categories. Karl then reiterated, the entire issue is that Billy was claiming his score was done on arcade when he was actually playing on MAME. KB asked Karl when he became aware of the legal proceedings between Billy and Twin Galaxies. Karl said it was roughly early 2019, and definitely by the end of 2019. Karl said this news may have been through a post on Reddit. KB asked Karl if Reddit is popular in the gaming community as a source of news. Karl confirmed it was. However, Karl noted, if he heard about something like the Billy Mitchell lawsuits, he would prefer to download the legal filings and read them for himself, adding that Billy's original complaint against Twin Galaxies was bare bones. KB asked if Karl was aware of any other of Billy's court proceedings. Karl listed Billy's lawsuits against Apollo Legend, against Jeremy Young, Jeff Harris, and Donkey Kong Forum, Billy's Florida lawsuit against Twin Galaxies in addition to Billy's suit against TG in California at the same time, and that Billy also sued David Race later on. KB asked when Karl first became aware of the David Race case. Karl offered a lengthy silence before answering that he didn't know. Karl said, in that case as well, he downloaded the filings from the Florida court site before showing snippets in his video. KB asked if there were lots of posts about the David Race lawsuit, to which Karl said there weren't many because the matter was not video game related. Karl also could not recall when he first heard about Billy's lawsuit against TG in Florida. Karl recalls hearing about the Apollo Legend lawsuit, after Apollo himself posted about being sued. Karl called Apollo an acquaintance who he spoke to online, adding that he never met Apollo in person. Karl said he watched several of Apollo's videos, but many of those have since been taken down. KB asked Karl what he heard about the Apollo Legend proceeding, to which Karl paraphrased Apollo's own declaration of, "Billy Mitchell suing me for $1 million." Karl recalled Apollo saying the lawsuit was ridiculous, and that he would never back down or remove his videos on Billy, basically, as Karl put it, doubling down. KB asked Karl when he learned of Apollo's settlement with Billy Mitchell. Karl said he found out in mid-2020, after posting a video on Guinness World Records titled, "Guinness World Records Should Stay Out of Gaming." Karl made sure to point out the purpose of this video was to show that Guinness is not credible, and that they don't know what they're doing with regard to gaming. Karl added that it did upset him that Guinness reinstated Billy's scores that were demonstrated to be fake. Karl said, following that, he posted online that he had received a concerns notice from Billy's attorney. Following that, someone on Reddit replied that Karl needed to be careful because, according to this post, Billy had forced Apollo Legend to settle and pay him money. Karl then recalled that, shortly afterward, Apollo announced that he had indeed settled with Billy Mitchell. Karl said that, shortly after that, he exchanged messages with someone online who goes by the name Erzats_cats. Wait, that's me. KB then displayed a private Twitter conversation between Karl and myself, dated August 23, 2020. Some of these private messages that have been shown during the hearings, I either don't have direct access to, or have been seeing for the first time. But this one, I can just show you from my own conversation logs, albeit with sender and recipient reversed, and with my date displaying as August 22, 2020. The image Karl linked, which was a new Reddit comment, was this. And yes, I misspelled confidentially. I blew my big moment, lol. But alas, BB objected to this message being tendered into evidence on the basis of relevance. KB noted that his client is being accused of acting in either malice or reckless disregard when he published the video. This led into a lengthy discussion about whether the defense pleadings properly reflected a denial of this inference. Basically, if the defense failed to argue in its pleadings that Karl took sufficient steps to confirm this information prior to publication, then the prosecution's allegation that Karl did not do so stands effectively undenied. The defense, therefore, cannot start entering evidence and arguments supporting a contention they never made in the pleadings. KB countered that a denial is suggested by certain pleadings, however judge did not interpret it this way, adding, the court doesn't have to adopt admissions, once an admission is made, it's made. The judge then decided, by rule, that the defense has effectively admitted to every item in whatever paragraph of Billy's pleading BB was citing. KB stood there speechless for a moment, before composing himself and continuing on. I'm not an expert, but this does seem like a big foul-up on the part of Karl's legal team. Granted, I understand that there's a difference between the practices as they are written down and the practices as they are carried out, and that different judges will enforce these things differently. This was why, going back to the TG case, I didn't put much stock in Judge Wendy Chang's dismissive ruling that Tasha's motion for sanctions was inadequate. So maybe, these lawyers are used to entering these things on the fly. On the other hand, I understand the perspective that the other party has to know what facts are being alleged and denied, and thus what material they need to prepare for. In short, Karl's attorneys can still make the case that Billy was not harmed by Karl's video, that Billy's reputation was already shit, that Karl didn't make the connection between the settlement and the suicide in the way Billy's side is claiming, and or that Karl's other statements and evidence in the video, such as Billy mocking Apollo's death, were the true cause of any alleged damages Billy may have received. And Billy's lack of credibility plays heavily into some of those. And truthfully, Karl will win this case on those bases. But Karl's attorneys cannot argue that Karl is not liable by way of having reasonable basis for believing his claim of a cash settlement between Apollo and Billy was true. Given this, my conversation with Karl was not allowed into evidence. KB moved on to the main Karl video at issue. KB asked if Karl sat in court during plaintiff's opening, when the video was played. Karl said he did. Karl identified the initial video as being posted on the 26th of May, and the first edit occurring in the afternoon of June 4. Karl said he did not need to see the video again. Karl recalled that he changed the video because he received a message from Keemstar, relaying that Billy was unhappy and was saying the claim about a financial settlement with Apollo was untrue. Karl decided to remove it as a good faith gesture, but would try to check with Apollo Legend's brother. Karl added that, if the claim was found to be incorrect, he would make a statement to that effect. Karl then authenticated the given message conversation between himself and Keemstar, clarifying that the video was edited prior to that message. Karl then spoke of his conversation with Apollo's brother. Karl relayed the legal threat he had received from Billy, adding that he just didn't want to report something that was incorrect. The court is then shown a message from Apollo's brother, who used Apollo's email address. KB then backtracks, and asks Karl about Billy's response video, posted on June 4th. Again, Karl said he was already familiar with it, and did not need to see it again. Karl said he found out when Keemstar messaged him, saying Billy posted a new video. Karl then got around to watching it the next day. LMAO. Karl recalled receiving a concerns notice from Billy afterward. Karl reposted the notice to Twitter, then laughed and said that may have been the previous concerns notice. Karl was asked why he edited the video. Karl reiterated that, when Keemstar told him Billy was unhappy with the claim, Karl was happy to take the words down pending an investigation, and that he would take any steps necessary to rectify the matter. But then, Billy uploaded to YouTube announcing he's going to respond the way everyone expects. Karl understood that to mean Billy would sue him, adding that, in his opinion, Billy's reputation is that he sues people. When asked where Karl got that opinion, Karl cited the fact that Billy has sued multiple people in the past. Karl then decided to restore the claim, which he still at the time believed to be true. Karl decided that since the steps he'd taken failed to mitigate Billy's response, he would instead leave the claim up until he could get confirmation whether it was true or not. Karl did eventually receive correspondence from Apollo's brother on the 13th of June. Upon receiving this, Karl immediately edited out the specific claim in question. Meanwhile, Karl said his lawyers responded to his concerns notice. In July 2021, Karl posted his apology video. When asked why he posted a retraction, Karl said he doesn't like to spread misinformation, and that he has a reputation as someone who doesn't do that. When asked why there was a delay, Karl said he wanted to make sure the retraction was included in a good video, and that it takes time to make a good video, so that as many people would see it as possible. KB asked for Karl's analytics of the first video, drawing an objection for BB since that was never disclosed. KB then asked for newer analytics, which Karl said he captured during that day's lunch. Again, BB objected, while bringing up the topic of analytics in general. Judge remarked that these analytics are provided by YouTube, and thus anyone can undertake them. However, BB corrected his honor by saying that channel information is privileged, which was why they needed to be disclosed, adding that this was an issue before Judge Kent previously. To this point, KB argued that defamation does not occur until something is published to someone, that it only needs to be one such someone, but it must be someone. Thus, it's not enough to say something was published, they must demonstrate that this someone exists. It is already a material fact that the video was uploaded to YouTube. However, this particular item is not proving defamation, nor is this newer analytic something they kept in their back pocket. KB added that, since these points and materials were known, if the other party thought this might take them by surprise at trial, they should have requested it. After some back and forth on legal points, Judge noted that the plaintiff argued that this retraction wouldn't have been seen by everyone, that it was no more than 100 seconds buried at the end of another video. Thus, according to the judge, it has become relevant to establish how many people have seen these videos, and thus he will allow the question. KB and Karl then went over screenshots of YouTube analytics, captured in dark mode, and discussed the difference between video impressions, when the thumbnail and title are shown to people, and actual views. During this time, Billy Mitchell seemed to be having a tough time with things. I saw him sitting in the gallery, slumped to his side, head in one hand, either out of boredom or displeased for how things were going, or a combination of both. KB referred back to Karl's thoughts on Billy's reputation after King of Kong. Judge interjected to say, while no objection was taken to a similar question earlier, he just wanted to establish that these are Karl's personal views. KB continued to contrast that reputation with the one Billy had after the Twin Galaxies cheating allegations. Karl said the majority believed Billy to be a cheater, adding that this understanding was gained through reading everything he could find about the topic. KB then asked, but he was later reinstated at Twin Galaxies, was he not? Karl said, that is not correct. Karl explained that Billy's scores were added to a historical snapshot of what Twin Galaxies was like when Jace Hall bought it back in 2014. Karl added that historical leaderboard tracks to a time years before the cheating allegations came out. When asked what Billy's reputation was just prior to Jobst's video, Karl said he had a reputation as a video game cheater. He had a reputation as a vexatious litigant. He had a reputation as a pathological liar, someone who couldn't be trusted. Karl said he perceived that reputation from comments, from reading what people said about him, and that those people understood that the proof against Billy was conclusive. Karl added that Billy was asserting other ridiculous things in his litigations, adding that people were essentially saying, just admit it and stop lying. KB declared that as the end of evidence in chief. Thus, in the late afternoon, began BB's chance to cross-examine Karl. Just the beginning. BB's opening question was whether Karl had ever met Mr. Mitchell. Karl gave a well and indicated he had met Billy several days ago as a part of these proceedings. However, he had not done so prior to that. BB asked Karl if YouTube was his only source of income. BB referenced the YouTube ads and sponsorships, but Karl clarified that those were the only sources tied to the videos themselves. Karl volunteered that he also has a Patreon, and explained what that is. Judge asked if that was the same as the sponsorships, to which Karl said it was not. Karl said he receives approximately $1,000 per month from the Patreon. When asked if Karl knows the individuals donating in this way, to which Karl said he did not. BB then asked how these individuals know to donate each month. Karl noted that he doesn't post much to his Patreon, and that currently, his Patreon page is bare bones, but that people click the donate button there, and the money comes through. Karl added that he includes a link to his Patreon in the description of each YouTube video. Karl then reiterated that these are different than the sponsorships embedded in the videos, which are personally made. Karl was asked if the YouTube description was the only way he drew attention to this Patreon. Karl asked if BB would give him a timeframe for the question, noting that he may have mentioned it elsewhere at some point. Karl recalled that, years ago, it was mentioned in his first video, and then for years it said, "Support me or follow me," on various platforms like Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon, right on the pages where Karl's videos were posted. BB then asked Karl if he promotes the Patreon in the video itself, to which Karl said he does not recall. Regardless, BB suggests that the more people see Karl's videos, the more they see how to give him money. Karl replied, "I'd say that'd be true, yes." BB then asks about brand promotion from sponsors. Karl notes that YouTube takes no cut from that. It's a deal brokered between that brand and Karl's manager, from which that manager takes a cut. Regarding YouTube's advertisements, BB asked why we didn't see any when the video was played in court earlier. Karl explained those copies were downloaded, and thus would never have YouTube ads. BB asked if the version available on YouTube would have such ads, to which Karl said some users pay for services like YouTube Premium which remove ads, adding that YouTubers are at the mercy of YouTube for the inclusion of such ads. When asked if uploaders can opt out of such ads, Karl said yes, but that the default option may be monetization. BB asked if the only money Karl received from YouTube was from these ads, to which Karl said he also gets money from memberships, which are similar to Patreon. BB implied this contradicted an earlier answer, to which Karl clarified that his barrister asked how Karl receives money specifically through videos, whereas memberships operate differently. BB noted he's trying to understand how YouTube determines how much to pay Karl. Karl replied that it's hard to describe simply. Karl said it depends on the videos YouTube decides to promote, noting that business-related videos could gain more revenue than gaming-related ones. BB asked Karl what his rate of pay is. Karl replied that he does not have a rate, and that he does not know how YouTube calculates what he gets, adding that more views don't necessarily translate into more money. Judge also interjected, saying that Karl does not run YouTube's business, and that he may just have to accept whatever YouTube gives him. Karl added that, indeed, you kind of have no choice. Karl said he doesn't have access to the back end of YouTube, and that he just gets what he gets. BB asked if Karl would expect to make more on a video everyone wants to see. Karl said one may expect that, but it doesn't always work out that way. BB asked Karl how much money per month Karl makes, drawing an objection from KB, noting that the matter is not addressed in the pleadings and that the precise amount is not relevant. BB counters that the amount earned from this video is relevant, and that he's entitled to explore whether the revenue from this video represented a large portion of Karl's income. When asked by the judge whether that matters, BB said it relates to the point of malice. At this point, it was 4:35 p.m. The judge called to adjourn for the day, and resume cross-examination on Friday at 9 a.m. BB continued Karl's cross-examination by showing his YouTube About page. BB asked Karl to confirm he had posted a total of 161 videos, to which Karl said that was not correct. Karl noted that he had previously uploaded more videos of his speedrun attempts, which he either set to unlisted or private when he started making videos professionally. When asked how many videos he's made as a professional, Karl confirmed that it was around 161. BB then asked Karl to be shown an exhibit from the trial bundle. On our screens, we saw the thumbnail from the contested video, reading, "They're suing everyone." However, it was soon made clear that the exhibit as presented to Karl included 20 pages of 20 different Billy-related thumbnails. Karl was asked if these were all the videos he made about Billy, to which Karl admitted he didn't know if the list was exhaustive. KB lodged an objection for relevance, similar to the objections noted earlier. As KB noted, if this line of questioning goes to aggravated circumstances, then the particulars relate to only one such video, which would be the one noted in the pleadings. Judge noted that the plaintiff has the right to test whether Karl's retraction video was designed to draw people's attention. Indeed, BB indicated their attempt to establish that the Karl intended for the retraction to be effectively unseen. However, Judge also said that while the notion that Karl could have buried this retraction in some other video could be relevant, that would not make the other videos relevant, nor would any of this demonstrate whether that was a normal practice. BB said there has already been other discussion of Karl's other videos about Mitchell, to which Judge said the fact that no objection was lodged doesn't make those videos admissible. Returning to questioning, BB asked Karl why he posts such a significant portion of his videos dedicated to Billy. Karl notes that, for starters, Billy's litigation against other people is newsworthy, and that Billy has initiated so much litigation against other gamers. Karl added that the fact that these defendants are gamers ties into his channel's focus on video games and video game world record holders. BB asked if the real reason Karl does videos about Billy is because those videos get a high number of views. Karl paused for a moment, then said, "No, all my videos get a high number of views." KB then objected that the word "good" here is subjective. BB then tries to reframe the question, asking Karl if those videos provide a good stream of revenue, to which the judge noted that runs against the same objection. BB then tried asking how much more money Karl makes from Billy-related videos compared to others, drawing another objection from KB that plaintiff's counsel can ask about the contested video, but can't refer to the unpleaded videos. BB protests that he's not required to plead, in chapter and verse, every item he intends to use in cross-examination. Judge ultimately agreed that the question of whether Karl published these Billy videos to increase traffic to his channel makes those videos relevant toward that question. Judge allowed that questioning to proceed, noting that it's a different point than was discussed yesterday. "I noticed that, this morning, Karl's solicitor Sam Barber was occupying the inside right corner seat Karl had been sitting in throughout the week, no doubt keeping it warm for his client should cross-examination conclude that day. Also, a group of ladies had arrived to watch Karl testify that morning. I'm sure it's a coincidence." BB resumed by asking Karl if he knew how much he's earned from these Billy-related videos. Karl said he has access to that information, but does not know it at this time. BB asked Karl why he didn't disclose the analytics for these videos. Karl pointed out that he did for the Con Men video, but BB asked why Karl didn't do the same for the others, asking if there's no reason he wouldn't have. Judge then pointed out that the others are not directly relevant, that plaintiff could have subpoenaed them or called for them. BB showed an analytics page they did have, asking Karl to identify the views and unique views. Karl noted that unique views are a little more complex, and that he doesn't fully understand what that implies. BB then showed another analytics page, which identifies Karl revenue from that one video as north of $7,500, though Karl noted that this was from all edits of the video combined. When asked to compare the revenue from this video to others, Karl noted that these days, he tends to earn less per thousand views than he did when that video was released. Karl added, "That's YouTube's business, they decide how many ads they play, and how much you get paid." BB asks Karl to explain this apparent difference with how much he earns now, but Karl says it's difficult to explain, because every video's different. Karl notes that, among his 160 total videos, on average he generally earns less these days. BB also recalled that Karl makes money from endorsements, and that the video in question had one such endorsement. Karl recalled that the sponsor for that video was Skillshare, but did not recall the exact amount he earned. BB asked Karl if he retains records of how much he received. There was a long silence before Karl said he doesn't know for certain, but assumes he would have it. BB asked why Karl chose not to provide that document, to which Karl said he didn't think he was required to. BB asked Karl if he was aware that plaintiff is contending that he received money for that video, citing it as an issue in these proceedings. Karl asked what exactly BB means by issue. In court, there's a process called discovery, wherein both parties have to provide relevant evidence to the other side, though in many cases these items have to be specifically requested. KB then objected, saying that the pleading refers to advertisements played before, during, and after the video, positing that these refer to the YouTube ads and not the sponsorship sports. However, Judge did not see a distinction between those ads and the sponsorship for which Karl was paid to insert an endorsement, noting that the amount of money Karl received from that would seem directly relevant. BB asked Karl if he was aware that BB's client raised the issue of sponsorship in his pleading. Karl said he was. BB asked if Karl was aware he didn't provide the necessary documentation. Karl replied that he did send the YouTube analytics, to which BB noted Karl's earlier testimony that sponsorship money is completely independent of YouTube. BB then referred back to Karl's total of over $7,500, confirming that this total was just what YouTube paid Karl and does not include the sponsor. BB asked if Karl didn't bother checking if he had documentation of this sponsorship. Karl said no. BB emphasized that Karl failed to do this, even though he knew this was an issue for this proceeding. Karl responded that he wasn't aware he had to provide it, adding, "I'm not a lawyer, I don't know what my requirements are." BB kept pressing this point, citing a filing by Karl's solicitor which included a statement on full disclosure. Karl confirmed he received that statement, but said he regardless didn't know he was supposed to supply this document. BB asked Karl if the real reason he didn't disclose that document was because he didn't want Billy to see that information. Karl said that was not correct, that he would have been happy to provide it. BB then turned to an episode of The Official Podcast, episode 241, dated July 15, 2021, where Karl discussed the case. The relevant portion started around a minute into the video, with one of the hosts asking Karl, "So what is this story? For anybody who doesn't know, can you give us a little backstory on why you found yourself in the middle of a lawsuit by a fucking clown?" I could hear Billy sigh when he heard the host call him a fucking clown. From BB's perspective, it seemed the purpose of this exhibit was to introduce the following quote from Karl. "Billy Mitchell is like a content-creating machine." BB asked if this meant Billy generates a significant amount of content that's beneficial to Karl's channel. Karl said, "As a reporter who covers news, that is correct." This led to an exchange where BB kept trying to assert that content about Billy generates a high number of views. And each time, Karl would counter that high number is always relative, prefacing that at one point with, "I really don't mean to be difficult." But, eventually, BB asked Karl if he would consider hundreds of thousands of views to be high, to which Karl said, "I'd consider that to be average." Karl added that he always gets hundreds of thousands of views on videos, and that a high number for him would be in the millions, with his most watched video ever having 18 million views. BB then shows Karl some of his chat posts, including one that referred to Billy's lawsuit as a clown show and expressing his desire to win. When asked if Karl was referring to this trial, Karl said he would assume so, because he can't win any other lawsuit. Regarding another message, BB asked if Karl intended to get a lot of content out of these proceedings. Of that message, Karl noted his use of the word trials, saying he's not sure at this point whether he was referring to this proceeding or one of the many others Billy had initiated. BB asked what Karl meant when, in one of these posts, he said, "Content feeds my family." Karl explained, "Content creation is my job. It's how I pay my mortgage. It's how I feed my family." When asked, Karl indicated that that was inclusive of content generated as part of these proceedings. Going back to the message, Judge asked to clarify whether the displayed date indicated the 9th of August or the 8th of September. Karl said he did not know, it depends on who screencapped the message. BB had his assistant display a new image on the screen. It was a meme, showing Billy Mitchell pointing a handgun at the viewer. It got a chuckle from the audience. BB quickly realized he didn't mean to display that, and had it removed with no related questions. No, this was not the inadvertent disclosure I foreshadowed. Up next, BB played a portion from a video interview with Karl Jobst by Camelot 331, titled "Billy Mitchell is Coming for Me." First, he played a portion from 120. "I made a video saying that Guinness sucks, and, as part of that, right at the end of that, I had like a little bit of Billy Mitchell, and I'm like, and they suck because they put Billy Mitchell's world records back up to Guinness even though they're obviously fake. And he sent me your version of a cease and desist or whatever, which is like, I'm gonna sue you unless you retract that." And that was like, just me calling him out just at the end of a video. So he already knew who I was in 2020. Then I made a full video about him, and then I decided to make heaps of videos about him. He wasn't happy with that. And then, at the end of 2021, he filed an official lawsuit, which is still ongoing. Then, BB had the clerk jump forward to 3 o'clock. "When I first got sued, I was getting estimates like, that the entire lawsuit's gonna cost like 200 grand. And that's..." I'm like, "Cool, 200 grand, it sucks, but I had some help, and I can deal with that. Even if I didn't have help, I could probably survive that." Then, the costs like tripled. And it got to a point where the law firm was like, "Dude, it's gonna cost another 200 grand. This was like recently. This was like a month ago." And I'm like, what the fuck? I've almost spent 400 grand and now it's gonna be another 200 grand, that's insane. So I had a bit of a temper tantrum and said, "This is ridiculous," and then I worked out a deal with my law firm. I was basically like, "This is way too much, I'm gonna have to switch and do something cheaper," and they're like, "No no 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 no. We'll do you a deal." So I've been stressed out, man, because it's not like. That's a lot of fucking money. And, that's why I'm making so many Billy Mitchell videos. And I'm like, I see people on my channel, they're like, "Oh, I wish I remember when Karl used to talk about speedrunning, and it's kinda. Why are you talking about Billy Mitchell so much? I have to earn so much money to afford the lawsuit that my YouTube channel's no longer about, oh, what I do make videos about that I like. No, it's like, dude, how do I make videos that I just survive, and can pay for this lawsuit? That's pretty much all I'm thinking about. BB asked Karl if what he said was accurate. Karl said, yes. BB asked if this meant he was producing more videos on Billy for more income. Karl indicated that what he said was, he needed to survive, and he can't produce many other videos when he's spending so much of his time responding to this plaintiff. Therefore, unfortunately, he has to make videos on this subject. BB continued pressing Karl on the topic of videos generated from these proceedings. Karl said he knew of Billy in late 2017, and indeed since King of Kong before that, but it was in 2017 that he heard more about the dispute over Billy's scores at Twin Galaxies. Karl mentioned the TG dispute began in late 2017, to which BB attempted to correct him and say it started in February 2018. Karl then clarified that the allegations against Billy's scores did indeed start in late 2017, and that in 2018 new allegations arose relating to MAME. The MAME evidence was more concrete, whereas the previous allegations were circumstantial. Karl added that those allegations were not Twin Galaxies statements, and that he was not aware of any Twin Galaxies statements at that time. Karl explained that these allegations were compiled in a dispute thread, which anyone could post to. BB asked about Karl to confirm his first video about Billy focused on Guinness World Records, with the Billy segment tacked on to the end. BB then showed Karl the Guinness reinstatement announcement. Karl recalled seeing it at the time, and that he made his Guinness video after the matter at hand, though he doesn't recall the exact date. BB then asked, shouldn't the Twin Galaxies dispute in 2018 have fallen under the regular subject matter of his videos? Karl noted that he did not have regular subject matter at the time, since he did not begin publishing videos of the current fashion until the end of 2018. BB asked Karl when he started covering speedruns, Guinness World Records, and cheating in video games. At first, Karl recalled his current upload style beginning in 2020, before correcting himself, that it may have begun with a video on Todd Rogers in late 2019. BB asked Karl to confirm that this means he covered cheating in video games in 2019, to which Karl said yes. BB notes that Karl didn't publish videos about Billy cheating until after June 2020. BB then asked if the real reason Karl didn't cover the allegations at that time because he didn't believe them to be true. BB then postured, isn't there a more reasonable explanation? Karl explained that, at the time, the Billy Mitchell story was saturated, with hundreds of videos. Thus, there was no need for him to make another video on Billy being a cheater. BB asked Karl how many videos he's done which concern the Twin Galaxies allegations. Karl flips through the thumbnails in front of him, one by one. After several seconds, Karl admits he lost count. Karl said he's not sure how many of those videos mention the TG allegations, but most relate to Billy's litigation. BB asks if Karl is familiar with these videos. Karl said he is familiar with the subject matter, yes, but doesn't recall the video contents word for word. BB then alleges that, in each of these videos, Karl discusses the TG dispute. Karl disputes this, saying most are about Billy's lawsuits, and not really about his cheating. So what exactly is Billy's barrister talking about here? BB then recites portions of the introduction from the contested video. Sadly, BB didn't include, hello you absolute legends, ... Specifically, he points to where Karl referred to Billy's fake scores being removed, and that Billy was exposed as cheating. BB then asks Karl if he made similar statements about Billy in his other videos. Karl confirms he does indeed refer to Billy as a cheater in other videos. Not that it's important, but KB lodged an objection that BB read out only a portion of the quote and not the entirety, saying it would be more proper to cite the full quote before asking about certain elements. Judge denied the objection, saying BB is simply asking about specific portions and reading only those portions, and that there's nothing wrong with that. BB asks if Karl refers to Billy as the disgraced Donkey Kong player and as a cheater. Karl says he does. BB cites Karl's testimony that he didn't cover Billy's situation because it would be redundant, before asking why Karl refers to Billy as a cheater in 20 videos, suggesting that it is redundant to always refer to Billy in this way. And so, BB asks, why did Karl consider the story redundant before, and why does he not consider it redundant now? Karl said the question confused him. BB rolled back to the beginning. He asked Karl to confirm he did a video about Todd Rogers cheating. He asked Karl to confirm his claim that a video about Billy's cheating would have been redundant at that time. And he asked Karl to confirm that he's posted 20 videos, most or all of which refer to Billy as a cheater. So, BB asks, why is it not redundant now, after so many more videos about Billy have been published, to continue referring to Billy as a cheater, adding, "Would it not have been great material back when you started your channel in 2018? Karl noted that he did not start producing videos until December 2018, adding that he may have mentioned Billy in his Todd Rogers video. BB expresses skepticism, citing Karl's earlier claim that his first video about Billy was his Guinness video from 2020. Karl states that that was the first of his videos that really dealt with Billy directly. BB asked why there were no such Billy videos in 2018, at the time of his Todd Rogers video. Judge interjected, saying that Toddzilla video was from 2019. I wish His Honor actually said Toddzilla, lol. Karl said he was doing very well with speedrun videos at the time, noting that the Todd Rogers video was a once-off anomaly. Karl added, "It was not my intention to create a channel about cheaters." Karl and BB went back and forth a bit on the semantics of the evolution of Karl's channel. BB tried to frame it as though Karl started covering cheaters with the Todd video, whereas Karl disputed that characterization, saying he just made a single video on the topic. BB suggested that, along those same lines, Karl would have had a good story to tell about Billy. Karl asks for clarification as to whether BB is asking for Karl's state of mind now or back then, to which BB says he's asking about Karl's perspective in 2019. Karl says simply that was not his state of mind at the time. BB then circles back through the same line of questioning again, leading again to the question of why Karl didn't do a video on Billy at that time. Karl asks for clarification, "You're asking me if I think it would have been a good story at that time?" Karl tried to explain that succeeding on YouTube has less to do with the topics you cover and more to do with how entertaining you make your videos. Karl then reiterated that his channel wasn't aimed at covering cheaters at that time. BB asked Karl again to confirm that he had started covering cheaters, to which Karl again reiterated that he had made a single video. For those who don't know what's going on here, this practice of grinding a single question into the ground is a standard practice, particularly when cross-examining opposing witnesses. You, as the attorney, want to trip them up and wear them down. You can't just keep asking literally the same question over and over, lest, at least in the US, you get an asked and answered objection. But there are always many ways to ask something. If the witness knows what they're doing, they'll give the same answer over and over and over, 30 times if necessary. After all, that answer continues to be the truth. But many people begin to get exasperated, or impatient, or they get sick of sitting there stuck in Groundhog Day, so they begin to stray. They may even feel like they're treating the questioner as stupid by answering over and over in the same way, even though the questioner knows what they're doing and is the one putting the witness in that position. At any rate, Karl handled this expertly. Don't let the opposing attorney weasel in their framing just because they attempt to do it dozens of times. Ultimately, Karl answered that he had other stories he wished to tell, that his other videos were doing well, and that he can't cover everything. BB once again asked Karl why he chose not to cover Billy during that time. It was at this point KB stood up and said that his client has already answered that his other videos were doing well. Judge noted that he wasn't even sure of the relevance of this line of questioning at this point. As BB indicated he would move on soon, KB remained standing, apologizing for having to interrupt his friend. There seems to be some protocol where the opposing barristers refer to each other as friend. KB then asks when the court could consider pausing Karl's cross-examination to include some of the American witnesses, whose availability is limited due to the time difference. KB first named David Race, adding that 10 a.m. local time would be 8 p.m. for him at home. KB also cited a Mr. White, before correcting himself to say Mr. Pereiro, who could be called at noon, coinciding with 10 p.m. his time. Judge expressed his disdain for the idea of continually interposing witnesses, to which BB agreed it would be better to do such witnesses in a block. Judge noted that they have a break coming up at 11 a.m., which should work perfectly for this purpose. BB asked Karl to confirm that he didn't think a video on Billy in late 2019 or early 2020 would have been entertaining. However, Karl did not accept that. Then, finally, BB chose to move on from that topic. BB then wished to follow up on something from the day before. BB noted that Karl was asked who recognized Donkey Kong records, and that he listed Donkey Kong Forum and Twin Galaxies. BB then asked Karl why he did not list Guinness World Records as well. Once again, the parties ran into questions of what exactly recognize means. BB then put it to Karl that Guinness is also an organization that lists scores in Donkey Kong. Karl countered, they purport to. BB asked if Karl was suggesting Guinness does not list these scores. Karl explained Guinness does not adjudicate high scores, they rely on other sites to do so. BB then shows Karl Guinness' statement on Billy's reinstatement there. BB asked if this statement reflected Guinness re-examining and reinstating Billy's records. Karl said he would accept that is the words on the page say. BB noted that, as of when that statement was published in June 2020, Twin Galaxies had not reinstated Billy's records. Karl said he hates to be a stickler, but that these score claims from Billy are historical records, not current records. Regardless, BB asked Karl to agree that Guinness were acting independently of Twin Galaxies in re-examining Billy's scores. Karl said, "No, I do not." BB noted that Karl seems to personally disagree with Guinness' decision. Karl said he definitely disagrees with those scores being put back in. BB offered that that's why Karl doesn't recognize Guinness as a legitimate adjudicator. Karl said that's not the sole reason at all, but it does contribute to his opinion. BB then shows a tweet from Karl, blasting Guinness for this decision. Karl explained that he was indeed upset by that move. BB then quoted Karl from that tweet as saying, "Fuck Billy Mitchell." Karl confirmed those were his words. BB asked Karl if he reached out to Billy directly to discuss the topic of Billy's reinstated records. Karl said he did not. Karl was then asked how many followers he had on Twitter. Karl said he had no idea, but that it's nowhere near how many he has today. After some further back and forth on the exact number, Judge interrupted to say that Karl was effectively being asked to guess, and that they don't need speculation in the court. BB asked Karl why he refers to Billy suing people. Karl said, because Billy Mitchell had a reputation as someone who sues people. When asked why Karl was worried about being sued, Karl said, because he sues people. Karl then added, I was going to report on his cheating, and he sued other people who reported on his cheating. BB then brought up another tweet of Karl's, where he says that once he becomes rich he'll buy some Guinness records. Karl explained that Guinness' business model is that you pay to buy world records, that people basically buy Guinness recognition. BB then asked about Karl's follow-up comment, that the record he buys could be Donkey Kong related. Karl explained that it was a joke. BB asked, about what? Karl explained that it was a joke about buying a Donkey Kong record. BB asked why this joke was about Donkey Kong in particular. Judge then remarked that Karl was inferring that Mr. Mitchell had paid for Guinness to reinstate his scores. Karl reiterated that it was definitely a joke, but doesn't recall if his intention with the joke was to suggest Billy paid Guinness, or that he, Karl, could just buy one himself. BB then showed Karl another tweet, which consisted of the words, "Silly Bitchel." BB read the tweet aloud, and asked if this was a reference to his client. Karl confirmed it was. BB asked Karl why he said that, to which Karl said, I believe it to be funny. When asked why he found it funny, Karl remarked that it's difficult to explain humor, and that this was a quote from the documentary. Karl was asked if he was trying to elicit a response from Billy. Karl said, no. BB asked Karl if he was afraid Billy would sue him over these tweets. Karl said he was not worried that calling him "silly bitchel" would result in a lawsuit. BB then asked, in general, was Karl worried that Billy would sue him over these tweets? Karl said, no, not over tweets. BB said, when Karl posts a video, when he wants people to know it's about Billy, he includes an image of Billy in the thumbnail. Karl confirmed this was the case, and that each of the 20 thumbnails before him featured Billy. Judge then asked what exactly was meant by thumbnail, to which BB explained he's referring to the main screen shown for the video. Karl confirmed that, in that bundle, each thumbnail shows Billy, but that his original Guinness video did not. Karl then added that he's mentioned Billy in other videos without putting him in the thumbnail. BB asked if Karl puts Billy in the thumbnail if he wants people to know the video is about him. Karl said, correct. KB then objects as to how the thumbnails are being used, relating back to earlier discussions. Judge noted the thumbnails are in evidence, and are being used to show that they include Billy in the image. BB referred back to the original version of the contested video from 26 May 2021. Billy quoted Karl from the video's introduction saying of BB's client, the man is trying to ruin lives, and I'm now of the opinion that he is legitimately evil. BB also reminded Karl of his testimony that he had not even met Billy by that point. BB asked Karl if he still believed those words. Karl said he does believe Billy is trying to ruin lives, but that he has matured over the past few years, and wouldn't use the words legitimately evil now. BB noted that, in the course of the video, Karl also referred to Billy as a scumbag and insane. When asked if Karl believed those things at the time, Karl replied, yes. When asked if Karl still believes them, Karl again replied, yes. BB then shows Karl his declaration from the Twin Galaxies case, which you can read here. https://perfectpacman.com/wp-content/upload/2023-11-03-1-0-3-1-0-3-tg-2023-11-03-tg-declaration-of-Karl Jobst-disqualified.pdf. BB then asks Karl to read the following passage aloud. The story I told in my YouTube video was slightly embellished to make it more interesting to viewers. BB asked Karl to confirm that this statement referred to the contested video by Karl. However, sitting in the gallery, I immediately recognized that this was in reference to a separate controversy in the TG case regarding the red joystick photos, which happened over a year after the May 2021 video. So when I heard BB's question, I was just about to emphatically shake my head, when I realized that would be a terrible thing to do from the gallery while Karl was on the witness stand, lol. Thankfully, Karl also recognized this discrepancy, and said he doesn't believe this statement was in reference to the current matter, but rather was about Billy's later deposition. BB asked Karl if he'd slightly embellished the contested 2021 video. Karl said he was not sure. BB then asked Karl to read this other passage from his TG declaration. My YouTube videos often contain hyperbole, sarcasm, parody, and humor to make them interesting to viewers. When talking on facts, I generally show evidence within the video. If this evidence isn't shown, my comments should not be misconstrued as factual. As an aside, this is a perfect statement for a case where Karl made a claim without showing proof, so I'd say thank you to BB for making sure this was entered onto the record. At any rate, BB asked if the 2020 video also included hyperbole and sarcasm. Karl answered, it may have. BB asked if the part where Karl said Billy ruins lives and referred to him as legitimately evil and a scumbag were hyperbole. Karl said no. And with that, court adjourned for a short break until 11:15. BB resumed cross by calling back to Karl's statement from his TG declaration. When talking on facts, I generally show evidence within the video. BB then called to a December 18, 2023 video, featuring a call between Karl Jobst and Mutahar of the channel Some Ordinary Gamers. While I don't recall him being named in the proceedings, this was the call discussing Gerard Khalil, the completionist. The relevant portion is the following quote from Karl, heard at about 43 minutes and 40 seconds. I feel like, aside from the Billy Mitchell stuff, I'm usually not too, I generally keep it pretty factual. BB began to ask Karl about the recording, before the judge interrupted him to remind him he has to establish that was Karl speaking those words. Procedures. After having Karl confirm those were his words, BB asked, do we infer from that, when you talk about Mr. Mitchell, you don't keep things factual? Karl said he doesn't quite understand the question. BB asked the question again, tying back into Karl's earlier statements about sensationalism. Karl said that was not what he meant here. BB asked again, if aside from the Billy Mitchell stuff Karl keeps things factual, does that mean with Billy he does not keep things factual? Karl explained that, with his Billy Mitchell videos, he provides facts, but he also offers opinions. BB asked Karl to confirm that some of these are strong opinions, which Karl confirmed. BB then recalled Karl's words that Billy is legitimately evil and a scumbag. BB then asked Karl if he denies embellishing the truth in his videos on Billy, which Karl denies. BB then asks if Karl maintains that everything he has said about Billy is true. Karl denied this as well. BB asked, so as a matter of fact, you haven't kept it factual, have you? Karl answered, I attempt to. BB asked, have there been times you published material about Mr. Mitchell that wasn't true? Karl replied, there has been a time, yes. BB asked, has there been another? Karl said he couldn't think of one. BB then returned to the original video. BB asked Karl to confirm if he had seen that Apollo had settled his claim with Billy before publishing this video. Karl confirmed this. BB asked Karl to confirm that Apollo had removed his Billy Mitchell videos. Karl confirmed this as well. Karl also confirmed that he had read Apollo's announcement about the settlement, and thus from this he would know that Apollo had removed more videos than just the ones about Apollo. Karl was then asked to confirm his reply to Apollo's announcement, don't worry guys, I will never back down. When asked what he meant by that, Karl explained he would never back down to Billy if he sues him. BB asked if Billy had actually sued him yet. Karl responded that Billy had threatened to, before confirming that, no, he had not actually been sued at that point. BB then showed Karl the concerns notice he received for the Guinness video, dated July 30, 2020. BB then shows Karl something called the settlement agreement, dated August 22, 2020. I believe this to be the actual confidential settlement paperwork between Billy and Apollo, which has not been made public. BB then offers that he was attempting to establish chronology of events, with regard to Karl's reply to Apollo's public statement. It seemed as though BB was about to make some point, before moving on, possibly because Karl's comment was indeed posted after he'd received the concerns notice. BB asked Karl to confirm that Billy had not commenced proceedings at that point, which Karl confirmed. BB then asked Karl to confirm that he had never been served with any proceeding over the Guinness film, which Karl again confirmed. BB called back to Karl's video, and the claim that Apollo had paid Billy a large sum of money. Karl confirmed that this was what he had said. BB then asked Karl to confirm that he had placed Apollo's statement on screen during this claim, which Karl confirmed. BB then asked, with regard to your statements in the California proceedings, were you trying to tell your audience that this proves your statement was correct? Karl was confused, so BB rewound his line of questioning. BB called back to Karl's statement from his TG declaration. When talking on facts, I generally show evidence within the video. BB asked, you had this up on screen, and this was your only evidence of a settlement, was it not? Karl disagreed, citing back to the Reddit post. BB said he wasn't asking about anyone else's post, asking if he had anything else from Apollo directly regarding the settlement. Karl confirmed this was all he had from Apollo on the matter. BB replied, and you put this up on screen to emphasize that what you were saying was correct, didn't you? Karl responded, this is not evidence of Apollo paying Billy money. Karl added that, in the words he was speaking he was conveying that, but the words on the screen have nothing to do with any exchange of money. BB went to another exhibit. This exhibit was paused with a Carlos Pinero text on screen, which BB quickly minimized. This again was not the inadvertent reveal I foreshadowed. BB played again the contested excerpt from Karl's video. BB asked Karl to confirm that he used part of an earlier Apollo Legend video, to which Karl confirmed he used only a snippet, and only the video portion. No audio. BB then switched to Apollo's goodbye video, asking Karl to confirm he had seen the video and read the statement that went with it. BB asked Karl if he understood, from that video and post, that Apollo did not blame Billy in any way. Karl confirmed, those two documents did not name Billy in any way. BB then asked Karl to confirm that, despite that, he still said the following. He was forced to remove all of his videos about Mitchell's cheating, and paid him a large sum of money. This left him deeply in debt, which required him to find extra work. But with his ongoing health issues, this was all too much of a burden, and he ultimately took his own life. BB remarked that none of this came out of Apollo's goodbye video or that video's statement. Karl remarked that some of it does, that Apollo's video spoke to unpaid taxes, which he felt would burden his family, which was the basis for Karl's claim that Apollo was deeply in debt. BB responded that Karl's word "this" referred to the claim that Billy's settlement forced Apollo to pay money, and did not refer to taxes. Karl confirmed that was what he was referring to. Around this time, Billy Jr. finally straggled back into the proceedings, with Billy Sr. not long behind. BB asked Karl to confirm Apollo never mentioned owing money in either his statement or video. Karl confirmed that Apollo did not. Karl also confirmed that Apollo never cited that settlement as a factor in his decision to end his life. BB then remarked that Karl obviously didn't accept what Apollo was saying, adding that he never attributed his choice to Billy, but that Karl was. Karl responded by clarifying, I wasn't blaming Mr. Mitchell. As an aside, it was in listening to this line of questioning that I came upon what I would have said in Karl's place, what I believe is the correct answer. First and foremost, Apollo's lack of reference to Billy in his waning days cannot be taken of evidence of anything, given the settlement certainly contained a legal obligation not to disparage Billy. Even if Apollo knew he would not personally face consequences in his limited days, such an action could result in damages against his estate he wished to leave for his family. With that said, I do think it's safe to say, and perhaps even obvious, that the settlement played a role in his tragic decision to end his life. Apollo's biggest success in life was his YouTube channel, but with that settlement, he could never return to that success. After backing down to Billy, he would never be able to show his face to his audience again. However, I don't think this belief, that the settlement played a part, necessarily means one must blame Billy Mitchell for Apollo's decision, which for the record I do not do. There were two parties to that settlement, and as one of those parties, Apollo harmed himself with it as much as anyone else could have. The other party could have been Billy Mitchell, Todd Rogers, Logan Paul, Skeletor, whoever. It didn't matter. While I don't have any particular ire to speak ill of the dead, who, I will note, we are only metaphorically exhuming because of Billy's lawsuit against Karl, Apollo made a lengthy series of poor choices, only one of which was that settlement, and which in totality led him to where he felt he had no choice. Getting back to the proceeding, at this point Judge called back to Karl's earlier reference to a Reddit post, asking if he considered Reddit a reliable source of information. Karl said it depends on the circumstances, explaining that Reddit is not really a source, but rather a place for people to post information from all sorts of sources. BB then asked Karl to confirm an email between himself and Apollo's brother. Karl noted that, while the screenshot is timestamped just after midnight on June 4, 2021, internet time zones can be tricky. In the message, Karl asked Apollo's brother whether he knew of any monetary payment between himself and Apollo. BB then showed another message, a text message exchange, and as routine, asked Karl to confirm this was him in the message. Karl said no, this was not him. BB was confused, then quickly withdrew the exhibit, and pulled it from our courtroom screens. Most attendees probably didn't even get a proper chance to read it. However, I knew exactly what this text exchange was, because I had seen it before, albeit not for some time. And, sitting quietly in the gallery, I was very excited, because I had been held to confidence regarding this exchange the entire time. Here is that exchange, which Friday attendees so briefly saw. Given its public disclosure, I asked my source if I could now publish this. He indicated I could, but asked that I remove references to the recipient, who I will call Chris, to mitigate any harassment they may receive, although I can identify Chris as someone in Billy Mitchell's social circle. My source, who I will call Joe, also asked not to be identified. Calling back to the settlement evidence I presented at the beginning of this update, I will not be able to confirm whether or not this Chris is the same Sam as before, or whether either Chris or Sam are any other specifically named individuals from Billy's circle. Such is the nature of confidential sourcing, I suppose. As you can see, Chris confirms the existence of a cash settlement. But what's even more important than the content of this exchange was the date and time. June 4, 2021, at between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m., United States time. Recall from earlier testimony that Billy Jr. uploaded Billy's video response to Karl Jobst, the one where he denies the existence of a financial payment from Apollo, early in the morning of June 4th. Remember, we heard over and over these leaked reports of a financial payout from Apollo legend to Billy Mitchell. Karl under fire. I have literally 12 pages of notes left to pound through before I can hit send and go to sleep. So let's get through this. Following that inadvertent disclosure, BB confirmed with Karl that he removed the offending words on June 4th, Australian time. Karl also indicated it was his intention to seek confirmation of whether or not there was a financial settlement, and that he would seek this confirmation from either Apollo's brother or from Billy himself. When asked if Karl tried to reach out to Billy, Karl indicated he was blocked by Billy on Twitter at the time, and so he didn't have a way of contacting him. When asked if Karl still believed the words to be true, Karl indicated he still did at the time. BB then called up one of Karl's tweets, where Karl announced he was removing the contested claim. Apologies, I don't seem to have access to the exact tweet to show it. BB nitpicked the exact wording Karl used, which was that he removed the claim, not because it's wrong, but because I'd rather Billy sue me over something else, indicating that Karl still believed the claim to be true. Karl disagreed, saying, "That's not the reason I removed it." BB replied by asking Karl if he still wanted the world to understand that the claim he had removed was true. Karl said that what the tweet was about Billy's new threat to sue him. BB suggested again that it was Karl's intention to let the world know he still believed the claim, otherwise, BB asked, if the tweet was just about Billy suing him, why wouldn't Karl say only that? Karl said he did wish to inform his followers that the words were removed, while also clarifying, "I wasn't trying to tell people it was true, just that it wasn't removed because it was wrong." BB then directed Karl to the June 7th concerns notice. Karl confirmed he had seen Billy's response video by the time he received this. BB asked Karl if part of the reason he put the words back in was as a defensive exercise. Karl asked BB what he meant by defensive exercise. BB relayed Karl's testimony from the day before as being that, upon receiving the concerns notice, Karl realized he would get sued and put the words back up for that reason. KB then interjected that he believed his client's testimony was that he restored the words not because he was getting sued, but because he was getting sued anyway, admitting that it might be a minor distinction. Judge brought up the passage in the transcript, and direct BB to it. BB then read that passage, wherein Karl said that receiving the concerns notice made him believe he couldn't stop whatever action Billy would take. BB then asked Karl to confirm that, whatever action Billy would take, would be to sue him. Karl countered that he had inferred this next step from the concerns notice. BB asked Karl to confirm again that he had received a concerns notice over the Guinness video, and that Billy did not sue Karl subsequent to that notice. Therefore, BB asked Karl to accept that it was not inevitable that Billy would sue. Karl accepted this interpretation. BB then showed Karl a tweet, which read something like, "Billy Mitchell's lawyer has contacted me. This is exciting. We go to war soon. I can't wait to share this with you all." KB objected on the basis of relevance, but the judge allowed BB to proceed. BB also noted a time discrepancy, where the screen capture shows the date as June 6 even though it was sent after the Australian concerns notice was sent on June 7. Karl was hesitant to testify as to the exact timing, prompting the judge to tell BB that he can simply check with his own solicitors as to when the notice was sent. Judge may have not realized that it was a previous firm representing Billy who sent that concerns notice. BB suggested to Karl that this tweet did not reflect someone who received a concerns notice and felt they could do nothing to stop legal action. Karl disagreed, quoting his words that he and Billy would go to war soon, which suggests inevitability. When BB asked Karl if he felt there was nothing he could do to stop it, Karl said that was correct. BB asked Karl if he could see the inconsistency with that position and that tweet. Karl said he did not. BB asked if Karl was expressing excitement at the prospect of being sued. Karl said he did express that. BB asked what could be exciting about that. Karl said Billy Mitchell is a bully, who has the reputation of a bully who sues innocent people for speaking the truth about him. Karl said he believed Billy wanted him to be scared, and chose not to give Billy that satisfaction. BB asked Karl if he was goading him on. Karl said he doesn't think that's the case. BB asked Karl if he still feels the proceeding is exciting. Karl said he does not, and that he also did not feel that way at the time. BB asked why Karl would be tweeting these things he did not believe. Karl said the message was for Billy, not for his followers. BB countered that the message was, in fact, for his followers, drawing an objection from KB. BB remarked that we've heard Karl speak in other publications about the importance of being honest, and that his viewers appreciate him being honest. Karl said that was specifically in relation to his YouTube videos, when he's reporting on the facts of a situation. BB responded, "You weren't being honest about your emotions here, were you?" Karl said, in this case, no, he didn't really want to be sued, and that it would be ridiculous to suggest otherwise. BB tried to say Karl had said this tweet was directed to Billy, before KB interrupted and said the exact words were that the message was for Billy. BB asked Karl if he'd hoped Billy would see the message and say, "Oh, I'd better not sue him now." Karl said he didn't believe this tweet would affect Billy's actions in any way. BB had Karl confirm that he hadn't heard back from Apollo's family by the 9th of June. BB then asked if Karl still believed it was appropriate to restore the contested words at that time. Karl said he did, adding, "I don't believe anything Billy Mitchell says." BB asked if Billy had said anything to Karl about it, to which Karl said Billy had said something to Keemstar, and had made a statement with his video. BB then asked Karl to confirm that he hadn't heard from Billy directly. Karl confirmed this, adding again that he didn't believe Billy, and didn't believe the claims in the concerns notice. When asked about Keemstar's role, Karl said Keemstar said Billy believed Karl's claim was untrue. BB then posits that, like how the tweet was for Billy, the third version of the video was also for Billy. Karl said that was not the case. BB asked Karl if he eventually got confirmation that Apollo did not pay Billy any money. Karl said this was correct. BB then called to the apology/retraction video, and cited the analytics for that video turned in on Thursday. BB asked Karl why this video had over 1 million more than his usual videos. Karl said it was because he made it a good video. BB then noted that it's impossible to tell how many different people and/or devices watched it, adding that Karl may have access to that information and did not provide it. BB also suggested one viewer may have matched it many, many times. Karl acknowledged that it was possible for someone to watch the video over and over to inflate the views. BB then showed Karl the thumbnail from that video, which just read Dark Souls a no-hit. BB asked Karl if he didn't include Billy in the thumbnail because he didn't want anyone to know he'd said anything about Billy. Karl said that was not true. BB noted this was also true of the video's title and description. BB asked Karl, if you wanted people to know about a retraction, wouldn't he use Billy's image to draw people's attention? Karl said, not necessarily. BB pointed back to all those other thumbnails he had Karl review, to which Karl countered that in each of those videos, Billy was the subject of the video. At this time, KB objects that there's nothing in the pleading about Karl allegedly trying to bury his retraction. However, Judge read a section from the pleading he considered satisfactory enough to allow BB to proceed. BB reiterates, if the 20 earlier videos all had Billy in the thumbnail, then therefore if Karl had wanted people to see this one, he would have included Billy in the thumbnail here as well. Karl replied that that's not necessarily true, and that there's a particular reasoning to it. BB similarly asked if Karl wanted people to see the retraction, if he would have added Billy to the title or description, to which Karl said, not necessarily. BB asked, isn't it the case that you didn't want people to know about the retraction? Karl said, no. BB asked Karl why he wouldn't put the retraction at the start of the video, rather than the end. Karl answered that this question starts to get into how YouTube promotes videos differently. BB reiterated that, if Karl wanted people to see the retraction, he would have put it at the start. Karl again said, not necessarily. BB asked again why Karl put the retraction at the end. Karl said it's because of the way YouTube's retention and click-through metrics work. BB then went to play the retraction segment. BB froze on the following image. BB asked about the words, "He is suing me," placed over an image of Apollo at an event with Billy. BB asked Karl why he placed those words and the two arrows over that image. Karl informed BB that he did not place those there, that those were in the original video he lifted from Apollo. Some of us in the gallery chuckled and whispered to each other, "Yes, that's why the arrow from the word me was pointing to Apollo." BB then played the clip, focusing on the following passage, claiming Billy did not reach out to Karl. He didn't provide any evidence to back up this claim, nor did he attempt to get in contact with me to clear up any misinformation I may have had. BB asked, "Did we not hear earlier that Billy reached out to clear up misinformation?" Karl said a third party had reached out. When asked if this third party did so upon Billy's instigation, Karl said you would have to ask Keemstar about that. BB then asked if Keemstar told him Billy had asked him to reach out. Karl clarified that Keemstar told him Billy was upset, but he never said Billy asked for this to be relayed. At this point, with about an hour to go in the day and a dozen blank pages left, I accepted that my practice of swapping between my two spare pens was yielding less and less results. I tried to get the attention of my sketch artist friend, who was now sitting 5 seats down. When he saw me, I attempted pantomiming writing in the air, as if to ask for my spare pen back. He looked at me confused, as did my neighbor next to me. No matter how carefully I tried to demonstrate holding a pen and writing with it, they both stared blankly. Finally, I pulled one of my spare pens out of my pocket and pointed with it. Finally, he realized what I was asking for and passed my spare pen down the line to me. And from here, my blue ink notes became black ink notes, although I guess I could have made them red or green instead. BB then brought up the concerns notice, asking, "Isn't that him getting in contact with you?" Karl said the notice came from Billy's solicitor, adding, "I didn't consider that him getting in contact with me." BB noted that lawyers act on the instructions of their clients, before asking, "How is that not him attempting to contact you?" Karl said he couldn't speak to Billy's intentions, but that when he made the retraction statement, he was referring to Billy himself trying to contact him. BB then pointed Karl to the concerns notice he had received. BB again framed it as an attempt by Billy to contact Karl about the video, adding that the document says it was sent on behalf of Billy. Karl replied, "I'm not a lawyer, I don't understand legal processes too well, but I didn't consider this Mr. Mitchell attempting to contact me." BB took a dramatic moment to jot down the words, as if they were a big deal. BB asked again, this time emphasizing that he couldn't be more clearer in his intentions. However, Karl disputed this, saying, "I'm not trying to be difficult, but if he refers to Mr. Mitchell, he didn't write this, and he didn't contact me." BB said he thought Karl admitted to understanding that his solicitor wrote it on behalf of Mr. Mitchell. Karl said yes, on behalf of him, but it still was not him. BB grinded the point down as fine as he could, asking Karl to accept that this was how Billy chose to reach out to him. Karl did accept that. BB then noted where in the concerns notice it lists facts, which among other things, claimed that Apollo was not required to pay Billy. BB asked Karl to confirm that this was Billy trying to contact him to clear up information. Karl agreed that it was through his lawyers, but was not Billy directly. BB asked Karl why he's making that distinction. Karl replied because that was the distinction he made in his video. BB asked, since the letter was from a solicitor, in Karl's view that means it wasn't from Billy directly? Karl said, correct. BB asked, would such a letter be even more compelling coming from a solicitor? Karl said, no, because Billy's reputation is that he sues innocent people who call him a cheater. BB asked, if the letter had come from Billy directly, would it have made a difference? Karl said it would not have, but that he felt it would have been a better way to handle the situation. BB acted stunned by Karl's admission that it wouldn't have mattered. Karl added that, he still would not have believed Billy's claim, but that direct contact would have been more appropriate. BB posited that Karl wanted to portray in the retraction video that no one on Billy's behalf had contacted him, and that Billy's video was his only response. Karl did not agree. At this point, KB spoke up and asked Judge if he felt a break was due. Judge asked Karl if he felt he needed a break. Karl said he did not. BB noted that, in his retraction, Karl referred to information he'd received from Apollo's family, but did not mention the information he received from Billy's concerns notice. Karl confirmed this was correct. BB said Karl did not think to mention that Billy confirmed what Smith's family had told him. Karl said he did not. BB said Karl did not want the world to know that Billy had made counterclaims through the concerns notice. Karl said that is not correct. BB asked Karl to confirm he apologized for giving incorrect information about Apollo paying Billy money. Karl agreed. But then BB noted that Karl didn't apologize for the rest of the sequence, for saying that payment left Apollo in debt, and forced him to find extra work, and that this along with his health issues led to his suicide. Karl agreed that he did not. BB asked Karl why he didn't apologize for that part as well. Karl said he believed, after that correction, he made it clear he did not believe Billy was responsible for Apollo's death. BB noted that Karl still did not apologize for any part of the video linking Apollo's decline to a non-existent cash payment. Karl said, "No, I didn't." BB then had another segment of Karl's retraction video played. "And no matter what kind of relationship I have with Mitchell, I do not believe that it is ever justified to lie or mislead. Mitchell also claimed that I was accusing him of murder. This is certainly not the case. I do have my opinion regarding the impact of the settlement on Apollo's decision, but ultimately, it was no one's responsibility but his own." BB asked Karl to confirm that he was simply stating that he was not accusing Billy of murder, and was not apologizing for any such inference. Karl agreed. When BB asked Karl's opinion was on the impact of the settlement on Apollo's passing, Karl indicated that his opinion has changed over the years. When asked for that opinion, Karl said, "I believe that the settlement terms had some impact on his life." BB asked to clarify that this meant Apollo's decision to take his own life. Karl agreed, saying, "I believe that it may have, yeah." Judge then came in with his own questions, asking Karl about the following statement from Karl's retraction. "The only reason I mentioned it in that video was because I felt like it was important to let you know what happened, as I know many of you enjoyed his videos." Judge asked Karl to confirm that this was an apology to his viewers for providing false information, and wasn't really an apology to Mr. Mitchell directly. Karl confirmed that it was not specifically aimed at Billy. BB continued his questioning, asking Karl if he thought the settlement, through financial means, did affect Apollo's decision. Karl indicated he wouldn't necessarily say it that way. BB noted that the settlement terms required Apollo to remove all his videos about Billy, and that because Apollo had to remove those videos, he suffered a loss of revenue. This seems like an odd thing for Billy's barrister to establish, but yes, Karl agreed that was a fair illustration. BB asked if this would have a negative impact on Apollo's life, and Karl agreed. And so, BB asked Karl if it's his opinion that this settlement was a factor in Apollo's decision. Karl agreed that was a portion of his opinion. BB asked if Karl maintained that same opinion, and Karl said he did. BB asked if Karl still maintained this opinion, even if Apollo himself did not express blame toward Billy. Karl said yes. BB asked if Karl still maintained this opinion even if Apollo chose to remove other videos on other subjects not required by the settlement agreement. Karl said yes. BB asked if Karl maintained this opinion even after learning that Apollo's family confirmed he had no remaining financial obligation. Karl said yes. BB asked Karl if he still thinks he knows better than everyone. Karl said it was just his opinion. BB then called back to more words from Karl in the Camelot 331 interview, starting at about 11:20. "The Twin Galaxies settlement sucked. Sucked complete ass, man. Billy Mitchell needs to be destroyed in court. He needs to be destroyed in court. So these people need to be punished in a big way before they stop. They need to get taught a lesson, so I am now the last chance that. I'm the last chance the public has to punish Billy. And in Australia, when you lose, you generally almost always get awarded a judgment for costs, which means you've got to pay back a certain amount of the costs, and since my costs are so high, Billy's looking at like a bill for like 300 or 400 grand when he loses. So if I was Billy, I'd be shitting myself. And also, the last person on YouTube you want to lose to is me. 'Cause there's gonna be 100 vids rubbing it in afterwards. Billy will never. I will never let Billy forget this. Assuming I win. I mean, I understand I've gotta win first. But man, if I win, oh boy, I'm not gonna be a good winner. I'm not gonna be a good winner." BB asked Karl, "These proceedings are your crusade against Mr. Mitchell, aren't they?" BB further asked Karl if he's determined to see Billy answer for something. Karl answered that he indeed hopes to win. BB then referred to Karl's continuation of these proceedings, drawing a sharp rebuke from KB. "My client is the defendant." Judge agreed, and reminded BB that it was his client who was continuing the proceedings. BB asked Karl, "You're going to keep going after Billy, aren't you?" Karl replied, "I will keep reporting if he sues people, yes." No further questions. Following the break, Karl was asked again about the other content he would have wanted to produce in his videos. Karl indicated speedrunning and other things, including other cheaters. At this point, Karl became emotional again, but he insisted they continue. KB asked Karl about his thoughts on Guinness' reinstatement of Billy, and how this was not his sole reason for disliking Guinness. Karl remarked that Guinness is known for being a place where people buy ridiculous world records, that it's their whole gimmick. As an example, Karl said a mattress company could partner with Guinness over something silly like the number of mattresses toppled over, and Guinness would say, "Pay us $10,000, and we'll have someone come and verify that." KB asked Karl to clarify his understanding of Apollo not blaming Billy Mitchell for his decision. Karl clarified that the settlement was a mutually agreed thing, and that it harmed Apollo in many ways, having negative impacts which would have affected his decision in the end. KB asked if Karl felt anything in the statement or video implied otherwise. Karl said there was not. KB asked Karl to clarify what he meant earlier when he said he was blocked by Billy on Twitter. Karl said Billy is famous for blocking people on Twitter, adding that he did ask Keemstar to tell Billy the contested segment had been removed. KB then shows this message to Keemstar on screen. Karl noted that his reply was cut off, but that it read, "Tell Billy I'm always happy to correct myself if proven wrong." And with that, the witness was excused.
New videos every Monday and Sunday. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Gen X Gamer. Remember to like and subscribe, click that notification bell, and remember, never ever be afraid to be happy. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.